Okay, in this project we're going to build a flashing LED. It's very similar to the other one, but this is a long life flashing LED. The last project used 4 batteries, or AA batteries, and it lasted, or it would last, for about 2 or 3 months. With this circuit we're going to build, it's going to last for about 5 years. And if you want, you can push it beyond that, maybe 10 years, 15 if you want, based on how much light you want flashing out of your LED that you'll be using. But I will program it and show you how to program it for about 5 years of battery life, which is great. You can make a little security system that you've seen in cars that flash along, and this particular one does not get wired into the 12 volts in the car, whereas most systems do, and that's probably nice, but this is a quicker install. Same chip. I'm using a Microchip or a PIC 12F675 for this project, and 2 alkaline batteries, and they are probably good for, well, they start off at 3 volts, and this chip is good for down to about 2 volts, so that's fine. I'm using a red LED, by the way, and it's nothing special, a 100 ohm resistor, just to limit the current running into the LED. But let's start her up. Here's my programmer here, and I will switch hands here. As usual, you start looking for the MP Lab, and maybe I'll switch. I'll be a left-handed mouse person today. Okay, so I actually built this ahead of time, this program, and I will just take you through the steps of what was required. But in general, just to help add on to the last, oh, you know, my battery's died on my camcorder again. So I will plug it in. Just give me a half a second here. There we go. Okay, so the just to add on to what I had said before in the other tutorial, the Hello World tutorial, this setup here, if you're unfamiliar with assembler, which this is programmed in, there are really several sections along here, or tab sections. And as you can see, the first section here is where I put my labels for things like loops, you know, where things will have to go to get to certain points. So when I say go to start, way down here, it will go to here, the label right there. By the way, my labels, I always throw a back or an underscore at the end of the last letter, and it's just for me to define, and the compiler is what will crunch this into code when we click on a build, right? When I click on a build, it will crunch all this code, but when I throw something like a backslash behind something like this, it will know it's a label. I can even use weird labels like a go-to label, as long as I throw a backslash onto it. Right, and it will be able to distinguish between that and this go-to, which is a command or an instruction. Nonetheless, I actually don't want to use that. So this is where all my labels go on this first tab section here. The second section has all the instructions on it, and the next one has all the parameters for the instructions, such as this instruction here, clear file register. Well, this is the parameter 05, right? This last section, as long as you throw a semicolon right here, it will assume that it's a remark, and you can put anything you want in here, misspelling or just jibber jabber as you want, for whatever length you want out here, and it will disregard it. At least the compiler will disregard it, and it'll build it. If you want to know, what these 7 lines here do. Is that 7? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 9 lines do. This is what I'm going to quickly explain Again, these two you already know. They're just the standard setup for the particular chips. And these two right here force the chip to run digital. And this one right here switches to bank. Actually, I probably should explain the banks a little clearer. There are two banks. In every chip, there are sometimes 4 banks in some of the chips, maybe more, of registers. And register banks are, oh, there's 2 right there. Okay, so this chip has 2 register banks. This one right here and that one right there. They do have some similar registers that transfer across, like these ones up here. You can see they are the same on this bank and that bank, but it's, well, the GPIO is not, right? Since we're using register 5 is the register that is used for setting up the GP, or the general purpose register. You'll see that over here on this bank, bank 0, it is different than the one over here. This one over here is how you set up your bank, and your your register. And this bank over here, bank 0, is how you you just place your input-output on the pins on this chip here. Oops, that chip there. That wasn't very well explained, but it'll make sense when I show you the program. Anyhow, the only other things that are similar between bank 0 and bank 1, or as we call it, the cleared bank or the set bank, 0 bank, 1 bank, is the general purpose registers are the same. Whether you're in this bank or that bank, register 20 will still be register 20 over here, even though it says A0 right there. Don't worry about that. By the way, we have several registers that you can use as general purpose registers, going from 20 through to 5F, which, if you know hexadecimal, that means 3F is 64 registers. Anyhow, where are we here? Where's that mouse? Okay, I'm not a left-handed mouse person, but that's what I'm doing today. So we start off, and beyond these standard 9 instructions, we go into my regular program right here. When I start off, I'm starting off in bank 0 at this point, because I've just done a bit clear file register 035, which puts which creates or forces bank 0 to be used. Up here you can see bit set file register 035 set bit 5 on register 3, which actually flicked to register bank 1 instead of 0. And I'll quickly show you that, because that's an easy explanation. Did I say it was register 3? I did indeed. Here it is right here. Okay, so the status register, register 3, bit 5. If you clear it, it goes to register bank 0. And if you set it, it goes, set meaning 1, it goes to bank 1. Okay, that sounds very complex, and Microchip, that's the way they like to do things. There's a few oddities in Microchip, and that's one of them. Just the bank jumping, which can be very frustrating, but it's part of the way it works, and you know, you just do it. Anyhow, we're now in bank 0 after this instruction. By the way, you know, assembler reads like a book. It reads from left to right and top to down. The only time it changes is when you do things like go-to statements, which force it to run back up somewhere else and move around like this. But generally, instructions are read from top to bottom, right? Next instruction, it's a start label, and that allows me to eventually go back to this point by telling the program to run back to start, which is here. Remember the label concept I explained? Anyhow, bit set file register 050. I'm setting bit 0, which is, you know, turning a high onto pin 7, right? If you haven't seen the Hello World video, you won't know what I'm talking about. It's weird when you laugh at your own jokes, I know. Anyhow, this right here instruction, move literal into W, move a 10 hexadecimal into the working register W. And then from here, move the W register into file register 21. So I'm using file 21, I'm tucking a 10 into it, okay? And that will make sense after you've whirled through a few of these instructions here. This instruction, again, this is just a looping instruction, more detail into it. It's found in the book again that everybody should copy out. Way back here, the instruction set. You can see, like I say, there's 35 instructions. And I will find more detail on the decrement instruction. You'll see right here, that's it right there. It decrements a file register, and decrements this file register, whatever's in this pocket right there, this spot right there, and it will skip the next instruction if it is 0. It's actually one of the more complex instructions. So it comes along, it decrements this, and if it's 0, it will go down to here. If it's not 0, it goes to the next line, which is go back again. And it will loop continuously until it sees a 0 on file register 20. The one right here merely means that it throws the result of the decrement back into file register 20. If there's a 0 here, as you can see right here on the explanation of the program, it will throw it into W register, the working register, which I've used that sometimes, but in this particular example it would be pointless. You have to throw it back into 20 in order to see things decrement. So anyhow, this will skip through, and by the way, with the internal oscillator running at 4 megahertz, every instruction you see here runs at 1 microsecond each, except for things that branch, such as a go-to statement. A go-to statement takes 2 instructions. So this little loop here that goes from here to here, back up again, that is 3 microseconds, or 3 instruction count. So it will loop through 256 times, going from FF down to 0 and noticing finally a 0, and then it will finally fall through because of, it will skip because it sees 0 on 20, register 20. So 256 times, would I say 3 microseconds for every loop? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So that would be 780 microseconds to do the whole loopy thing and finally fall through to here. So that's still less than 1 millisecond. Anyhow, when it gets down to here, it decrements 21. Remember, I've programmed 21 to have 10 in it, so it's going to loop through 16 times, because that's hexadecimal. 10 hexadecimal is 16 in our unit. If you don't remember how hexadecimal works, it starts at 0, just like our regular 10 base system. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, and then you have 10 is the next number after F. And then, of course, from 10 it goes 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F, 20. Anyhow, we're going up to 10 here. So it's going to do 16 loops, basically, if you look at the way the system's working here, times this again. So it'll work out to about 10 milliseconds that this thing will rattle through this delay system here. Finally, when it gets through, it will clear register 5 bit 0, which is put a low onto pin 7, which is that one up there, which will turn the light out, which I will eventually put on there. Now this is a new instruction here, sleep. Sleep has no parameters. It basically just sleeps. Where is it? Right here. As you can see, sleep does a few things, and there are several ways to wake this chip up from sleep. If you don't have a way to wake it up, it will never wake up. It'll sleep forever. The way we're going to wake this one up is I'm going to use something called a watchdog timer. You may have noticed that way up here, bit clear 010 was added into my beginning instructions. What that did was it changed the length of delay, or length of count on a watchdog timer that we have built automatically into the chip, the Microchip PIC 12F675, whatever. Anyhow, remember these configuration bits here? One of them, called the watchdog timer configuration bit, this time I'm turning it on instead of off, and this will allow the watchdog timer to be active, which will now be what will wake up this computer program from a sleep. So when it goes to sleep, the advantage of a sleep is the processor runs at really small amount of electricity. This is how we're going to get the batteries to last for 5 years, is it will drop into just a sub microamp sleep, and there is a watchdog timer clicking away, but that uses, I think, like just a few microamps. What's it say here? I don't know, 1 microamp, I can't remember. Couple microamps maybe. Nope, it says 1. Yeah. Anyhow, it uses about 1 microamp. And when it's sleeping, so that saves a lot of power. And after the watchdog timer counts through some number, which I've programmed it, by the way, up here, to do about 1.2, maybe 1.4 seconds, it will wake up, and then the first instruction after it wakes up will be go to start. It'll run back up here and completely repeat the whole program again. I'll just close this gap here as well. Okay, so the program is designed to turn the light on, bit set file register 050, run a big delay, which actually works up to 10 milliseconds, or 100th of a second. Funny thing is, you can actually see that quite well when the light is nice and bright. And we're using about 7 milliamps, 20 milliwatts of light, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's pretty intense with an LED. And we'll do that for, like I say, 100th of a second, which is pretty good. Maybe it's even, it's around that time. Then I'll go to sleep for 1.4 seconds roughly, and then repeat. That routine will give the longevity in the batteries. That'll give you, I believe, after my math, if it's correct, will give just over 5 years of battery life. And this is actually a good project for maybe a cabin in the woods where you just don't have enough electricity, or you don't have the generator on, or whatever, and your other battery sources don't last nearly as long. Anyhow, we're finished with this program. I've explained it. I'm going to put it into the chip now. So first thing I want to do is take this chip, put it into my programmer, pin 1 right here at the very front. This is of course plumbed in to my computer. Run over here. This is, I've saved it as Flasher ASM, so it's an assembler, and programmer. Select your programmer if you haven't done so. Here it is, PIC Start Plus for me, might be something else for you, and I enable it. Down here it says it worked out fine, it's enabled. I would do a quick build on this project. So you click on the box here, you run up to project, and you click quick build flasher ASM. It builds it. Oops, I'll show you that again. Click it again and quick build. You'll see a little window pop up, and when it's green like that, everything's sweet. If it goes red, it means you've done something wrong, and that means there's a bug in the program. And I haven't taught you how to debug the programs, but one day I will. Anyhow, back up to here. It's been compiled just now. I want to program the chip. So I click, oh, I'm sorry. Silly. I forgot. Configuration bits. This is how you set it up. Your oscillator, we're using internal RC. It saves on parts, and it's the one that makes everything run at 1 microsecond per step, and it needs no external parts. Watchdog timer, turn that one on because that's the device that will be waking up your processor from asleep. Power up timer, I don't need it, turn it off. Internal master clear, keep it internal. Brownout, I don't use that. Code protection, you can use that if you want. If you're ever mass producing a product that you're selling to people and you don't want them to actually see the coding inside, you want to keep it confidential, you can keep it, you'd put the code protection on, but we don't need that. I figure out how to turn this off again. Here we go. Same with data. Your data can be locked up too as well. We don't need that sort of thing, but for now, programmer. As soon as you, always click on this space here before you click on program so it knows what it's going to be programming. Then program. And as you can see, it's programming the chip because there's 2 lights on now instead of 1. And there's something way down here happening. Some computers take longer to program than others. I do not know why, but this particular one takes like 5 seconds, and it will ask me a question about calibration, and I don't care. That's fine. It just finishes it off. It's done. Okay, so now I can pull my chip here with my program. Let me move some stuff away. And I'll put this right here into here. Make sure I don't fry my chip by putting it in wrong. Let me just throw in the resistor first, between maybe there and there. So, was it pin 7? Yeah, I believe it was pin 7. Here we had a PC board or a perf board that didn't work properly. Okay, now this is actually working really well. This is the 1.4 second delay plus the 10 milliseconds of really fast flash, which you can't really see on a camcorder, but your eyes actually do see it as a fairly intense light. I'm adding one more wire to this whole setup. This pin right here, pin 4, actually is always an input pin. You can program it as output, but it will always be input. And what happens is if you don't actually ground it to something or even tie it to a high or low or something, you will end up with some I can't remember what it is, leakage or something, but it will, when the chip goes to sleep, it will still consume power if it's not tied to a high or a low. So I always tie pin 4 to a high or low in order to stop it from rattling around, because it doesn't know what the state is on the pin. Okay, so there you go, a 5-year security flasher light. Enjoy.